When playing small pocket pairs between 2s and 9s, I recommend that you almost always set mine. If you don't, you're just going to get into a lot of trouble. And pocket pairs are not the kind of hands that you want to be calling down with, unless you hit a set, obviously. The three main areas to consider are your SPR post-flop. So if you face a small 3-bet size, you're going to have fairly high stack to pot ratio post-flop. And if you start out deep stacked or deeper stacked, so like 130 big blinds or so, you're going to have more leverage to call and try to hit a set. Anytime you have a chance to be in a multi-wave pot, that is also a good opportunity to try to hit a set. You're much more likely to realize your equity and your implied odds are better. It's much more likely that someone's going to have something in a multi-way pot, so you're more likely to get paid off on your set. And finally, position. Position is one of those things where it's not as important with pocket pairs, but you're still much more likely to get paid off in position than out of position. So I picked out some hands, and let's take a look at them now. And I'll talk about how each of these factors plays into each of these hands. So we raise pocket 7s, and here it's going to be 35 more cents to call, and we have position on one player, and it's going to be multi-way. So this is like the dream scenario of trying to set mine. We call and we miss, and we're just gonna give up. Well, it's now we only need 7% equity. It's actually pretty close. With implied odds, I actually peel here and just try to hit my 2-outer, and we miss, and now we just give it up. So that's that. Let me move that hand. The next one, pocket 3s, we end up raising. So here the flop is going to be heads up, and the villain is relatively loose and aggressive, or at least appears that way right now. Well, like slightly laggish. He's playing with a VPIP of 25. Small sample size. I wouldn't put too much merit into the 3-bet percentage. But in general, this is just going to be a fold. We are not going to be getting a good enough price here to continue with 3s. Pocket 8s. Great price. Good spot to continue. We hit our set. Once the initial raiser ends up checking, I just go ahead and I would go ahead and raise here. I would put the button who seems like an unknown on a hand like 9s, 10s, jacks, and I want to just take initiative in the hand. I also don't want like a 5 or a 6 to roll off, so yeah, I would just raise here. I would make it something like, 450 and then bet turn, bet river. So we end up calling. At this point, the 9 comes. I would definitely bet. I would lead the turn. Just because we check call the flop doesn't mean we can't lead the turn. And goes check, check. And now there is there's a 4 straight multi-way, or 2-way. We end up betting about half pot and get called by jack 8. So that kind of demonstrates how if we were in position, we would get paid off much more. All right, pocket 5s. We get 3-bet from the small blind, so we expect him to have a stronger range. The villain's also playing 17-15, so it's kind of taggish. And we started out the hands, looks like 100 and let's see, 2, 3. I mean, not that much above 100 big blinds, so I think calling here is fine, and just looking to hit a set is okay. So we call and we miss. So here we have position, and the guy has a fairly well-defined range. So it should be pretty easy to play post-flop.